Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, Isis, Imitation of Life. The Goddess Next Door helps a young black girl overcome racism during the era of Jim Crow in this Golden Age Isis series adventure. Get Isis, Imitation of Life in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. When I take a critical examination of the aftermath of the Amber Guyger verdict, it speaks volumes about the self-hatred many black people have. Because to see the way this black judge, a black sheriff's deputy, and even members of the Jean family behaved, it shows how deep the self-hatred goes in many black people. Now, in the aftermath of this conviction that Amber Guyger received for the murder of Botham Jean, there was no talk about punishment and being held accountable for this white woman who maliciously, willfully, and intentionally murdered this black man. No, there was all of this talk of forgiveness from the members of the Jean family, and the whole tone that in the judge's courtroom was all about absolving your Amber Guyger for her reckless and egregious behaviors, and it was all about making your Amber Guyger appear to be the victim in this whole situation. So when I look at the behaviors here, it really was like they were trying to make it like Amber Guyger was the victim in this case, when in actuality, your Amber Guyger was the perpetrator, and she murdered this man, but you couldn't tell that from the way this sheriff's deputy behaved at the conviction that was handed down by the jury, where she was sitting there patting this white woman on the head like she was a child who was just being consoled after being punished. And when I looked at after the sentencing, where this black female judge went out of her way to, after giving this Amber Guyger a light 10-year sentence, she goes over and hugs your Amber Guyger and gives her a Bible. That was really disturbing to me, because in both of those cases, we saw two black women participating in mammy behavior, all to try to console this white female and make it look like she was being a victim, when in actuality what they were doing was minimizing the value of Botham Jean's life and making it look like a black man's life had no value. And what's really disturbing to see in that whole situation is you have two black women minimizing the value of a black man's life by going out of their way to console this white female, and in some ways, I believe, give her a pass for murdering this black man who had done absolutely nothing wrong. He was just sitting in his apartment and eating a bowl of ice cream when this white female decided to go into his apartment, pull out her gun, and murder this man. And to see those black women behave like that, that was one of the most disturbing things I had ever seen in my life, because I thought our criminal justice system was supposed to be fair and balanced. Moreover, I thought that because we had black professionals in a courtroom, they would maintain a sense of objectivity, and they would be all about meting out justice, because they would understand that they were supposed to uphold the law. And when I look at their behavior, it shows how many of these educated professional blacks, they really don't understand anything about black empowerment, because instead of them using their power to hold this white woman accountable for the laws of this land, instead they use their power to change things to make it look like this Amber Guyger was the victim in this situation. So when I look at that judge and I look at that sheriff's deputy and the way they were behaving in that courtroom, it was literally like looking at Mammy and Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind. So I remember watching Gone with the Wind, and Mammy would sit there and try to console and comfort Scarlett O'Hara, even though Scarlett O'Hara was participating in egregious behaviors, and seeing that behavior with those black women in that courtroom was just like watching Gone with the Wind with Mammy and Scarlett. And even worse than your mammies in that courtroom was the behaviors of members of the Jean family. Now, we had the brother get on the stand and talk about how much he forgave your Amber Guyger for the murder of Botham Jean. And then we also had Botham Jean's father come on and talk about how he'd like to be Amber Guyger's friend. And I found that to be quite troubling because your Amber Guyger is an open white supremacist, and this was shown in numerous texts where she made racist statements in those text messages to people that she knew. And for these two Negroes to sit there and talk about how they forgive your Amber Guyger, an open white supremacist, and for the father to say he wanted to be a friend to an open white supremacist, this shows how deep the self-hatred many black people have, and it shows how deep the mental illness I believe some of these black males have regarding these white females, in that they elevate this white female on a pedestal, and they don't, instead of them looking at her as a human being that needs to be held accountable for her behaviors and her actions, these buck-dancing, bojangling, step-and-fetch-it Negroes go out of their way to talk about forgiving this woman who murdered a brother and murdered a son, and did this with malicious intent. And they're looking to be a friend to a white supremacist who would hate them and has expressed hatred towards them, and then want to talk about how this is all so supposedly Christian. Well, as somebody who follows the Most High, I can tell you that what you saw in that courtroom was not Christian. It was what the people in the pseudo-Christian religion participate in, but people who follow the Most High, they know that people who do wrong have to be punished because the Most High wants to see people who do wrong get punished. And the whole concept of forgiveness was been completely misinterpreted by white supremacists as part of his pacifist religion to keep the Negroes pacified. And when you look at these two pacified buck-dancing Negroes, they have bought into white supremacy's pseudo-Christian religion and not the religion of the living God. Because the people who follow the living God know that punishment is going to be meted out, because those who go out here and reap wrong are going to sow wrong, and those who do wrong are to be held accountable for their wrong. Your people who participate in the pseudo-Christian religion because they are actually following white supremacy, these are the kind of people who look to give white racists like Amber Guyger a pass for their racist and egregious behaviors. And it's these people who put white people on pedestals, see them as gods, and then when those gods do wrong, don't make any effort to hold them accountable. But as someone who reads the Bible and reads it and knows the word of the Most High, I can tell you that in the Bible, in the New Testament, it says there is no difference between a Jew or a Greek or any other race as related to human beings, and all people are to be held to the same standard under the standard of the living God. But when it comes down to those who participate in the pseudo-Christian religion of white supremacy and those who worship white Jesus, These people put white people on pedestals, and they look to absolve white people for the wrongs that they do. And when they do that, what they do is minimize the value of a black life. And that's what we saw here in this Amber Guyger trial, in the aftermath with the Jean family. They minimized the value of a black man's life by going out here and talking about how they so-called forgive this Amber Guyger, an open white supremacist, and talk about how they want to be this racist and white supremacist friend. They want to sit there and be friends with someone who hates them, not understanding this woman wouldn't pee on them if they were on fire. And that's was really disturbing about this whole situation, was we saw black people who were supposed to be the educated, successful, professional black people going out of their way to buck, dance, and bojangle, all for white validation. And they did this as related to their, and not thinking about their own value, because when they went out here and were patting that little white girl on the head as related to her conviction, and then hugging her and giving her a Bible and forgiving her, what they were doing was lowering the value of a black life and saying that a black life did not matter to them at all. And if you go out of your way through your actions to devalue a black life, what you are doing as a black person is participating in self-hatred. And to see black people who are supposed to be college-educated professionals go out of their way to devalue black life like this speaks volumes to how deep white supremacy is in the mind of black people, and it speaks volumes to how deep the self-hatred many black people have. Because when you take somebody who has been convicted of murdering a family member, and you have a black judge and a black sheriff's deputy there, and they go out of their way to console this white woman who murdered this person and make it look like she's the victim, it shows how deep the mental damage is done to the black mind. Because all of these people were in positions of power, especially that black judge, and to have a person in a position of power not looking to hold this white woman accountable shows how deep white supremacy is in the minds of even our most educated and professional black people, that they would sit there and say, oh, I have this power, but I'm not going to use this power to hold this white woman accountable for her behavior and make her take responsibility for her actions. No, I'm going to console this white woman and absolve her of any wrongdoing, because that's what that judge was trying to do even when this trial was starting. And even as she gave her instructions to the jury, she was looking for ways to absolve this white woman, and she only wanted to absolve this white woman of wrongdoing, all because she was a white female. And that's one of the most racist things I have ever seen in my life. These people, black people, who have political power and have this power as related to meting out justice, not looking to mete out justice as related to the merits and the letter and the spirit of the law, but looking for a way to absolve this white person for the wrongdoing that they committed. If that doesn't speak volumes about how deep white supremacy is and how gynocentric white supremacy is, and how your white woman is on a pedestal where she is never held accountable for her actions, I don't know what is. Because when I look at this whole case and the way this white woman was absolved of any accountability or responsibility by a black judge, it speaks volumes to how deep this self-hatred goes in black people. And this whole case is quite troubling, because instead of this white woman being brought to justice and held accountable the way a black man would be held accountable for the murder of a white man. We get black people going out of their way to buck dance, bojangle, shuffle, and even apologize for this white woman who committed a crime and was convicted of a crime. And that's the other troubling thing for me, is this apologetic nature that all of those people had. They're sitting there like they're apologizing for her being convicted and looking for a way, again, to give her a pass for being convicted, when we should be sitting here saying that, yes, we want to see this woman punished for the maximum, because whenever a black man murders a white man in America, or a white woman here in America especially, what happens is those people in that courtroom, they're not patting a black man on the head, they're not consoling the black man, nor are they trying to absolve the black man or make him out to be a victim. No, they throw the book at the black man and they give him the maximum amount of years, and then they go on with their business. But these buck dancing, bojangling, step and fetch it, so-called educated professional Negroes, these Negroes went out of their way to make it look like Botham Jean was in the wrong and make it look like Amber Guyger was the victim. And that was embarrassing to see, especially when you consider all of these so-called educated professionals in this judicial system and in this Jean family, because all these people were supposed to be our best and brightest, but it seems like they were all dim bulbs as related to white supremacy, because see them sitting there literally in tears and and feeling bad about giving out punishment to a white person shows how deep the self-hatred goes and how much some black people still love white supremacy. If you'd like to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. And if you want to try some of my SJS Direct publications, you may do so by clicking the link to Amazon.com in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and coming to Kindle Unlimited, John Haynes, Dark Succubus. The man who rules the world is tempted by a sultry succubus in this all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get John Haynes, Dark Succubus in paperback or pre-order on Kindle Unlimited today.